Ça va mieux, Sophie?
I think of Sophie as an island. I mean, if you look at her backstory, it doesn't really exist. I mean, she has a backstory, but around her now, she has no friends, she has no family she's in contact with, and she's a very strong individual, and yet she has this real sensitivity and vulnerability. And Audrey, plays that just perfectly. She has got a real fire and a real strength, but you look in those eyes and you see just how vulnerable she is.
I read the book a few months before learning that the movie was being prepared by Ron and the studio. I thought it was a very entertaining book with a lot of suspense and interesting historical also discoveries. The cryptex.
One of the themes and ideas that really resonated with me when I read the novel, and it was one of the things that I really wanted to make sure was front and center in the movie as well, is the whole idea of the sacred feminine. I have 3 daughters, been married for 30 years. My wife, Cheryl, very powerful woman in her own right. And, this became an important idea to me.
For me, the most interesting thing was the story of this girl who turns out to be far more than she ever imagined she was, who is on a search for identity. Now, from a movie writing point of view, that's very fertile. That's something to get your hands in. It may, in fact, not be anywhere near as panoramic or epic a starting place as many of the other facets in the book, but for me, that was the most compelling part, the most human part.
Sophie?
The emotional journey of Sophie Nouveau is really exciting to me, to have such a strong female character sharing that center stage, and her emotional journey and sort of understanding of who she really is and the sort of the mystery of her life unfolding and coming clear in interesting, dramatic ways during the course of the story, I think gives, again, this suspense, thriller, mystery, just a lot of humanity and dimension. And I was really excited about it in the book, and as a director, that was really something I wanted to focus on in making the film.
Can you keep secrets? Can you know a thing and never say it again?
For Sophie, there were a lot of well-known, big-name movie stars who really wanted to play the role, and it was very tempting. But we decided that we had to really explore the world of French actresses before we could really make that decision. And, I don't see a lot of French films, so, I certainly knew who some of the women were on the list, but not very many of them. And so it began. And, not tough duty, really, if you think about it. Meeting these beautiful, intelligent, talented French actresses in Paris, in Los Angeles, in New York, wherever the interviews could be arranged. And over a period of about a month, we distilled that down to a very long short list.
What Ron and I did is we actually planted ourselves at the Ritz Hotel, and we did read every single great and beautiful actress in France. And then we brought them to Los Angeles, the ones that we'd selected as finalists, probably 8 or 10 of these actresses.
I certainly saw Audrey Tautou in my mind's eye when I was just a reader. But when I mentioned her to Ron, he said, no, she's very good, but he really didn't think that she was what he wanted.
Oh, well, my dear.
So I started to meet and audition other French girls and to gather up a lot of tape for him to watch because he didn't know a lot of the French actresses. And then I just happened to catch this episode of Charlie Rose that Audrey was on because she was promoting The Long Engagement. And I showed this tape to Ron, and he said, well, maybe I'm being short-sighted and I should meet her.
Here she was being interviewed by Charlie Rose, kind of in a business suit, as I recall. Very mature looking, very centered, extremely articulate, kind of cosmopolitan and directed in this interview, very serious. Well, I immediately was seeing, a real possibility for Sophie Nouveau. I committed that sin as an actor. I always, hated when I felt that that directors were, overlooking me or other actors that I knew. And I met her and was very impressed with her. And she auditioned along with, again, about 8 other women in Los Angeles, all with Tom Hanks. We videoed all these tests. And even though she was the least prepared and had the least amount of time to actually work on her scenes, there was just a kind of unique quality there. And I felt that given the sort of mystical elements of the Da Vinci Code, that this enigmatic yet accessible quality of Audrey's was absolutely perfect.
I just heard from my agent that Ron wanted to see me for this part. So I went to Los Angeles to do some tests with Tom. And a few days after, he told me that he wanted me to do this part. So in fact, it was quite simple for me. I've never exactly thought that he would choose me, so I was a bit surprised. But everything went quite quickly, in fact, for me.
You know, Tom was very impressed with all the women, acted his heart out with all of them, and they him, and it was great. But you know, they were already beginning to improvise, even as they were doing the scene, you know, bringing nuances out of each other as we were videotaping these, what was really just a cold reading for Audrey. Still, it was a long, drawn-out process. We took these tapes, we looked at them very carefully, and Audrey just won the role.
I was so wrong. Sonier didn't want you to help guard the secret of the Holy Grail. Sophie, you are the secret.
As an actress, she's ethereal in some ways. And yet, when she asks a question, you believe that this is a genuine inquiry that she's having. So, in a weird way, it always comes down to almost every role, there's always just one choice. And at the end of the day, it was Audrey, hands down.
And cut!
Cutting!
Once again?
We'll go again right away, please.